Hello everybody and welcome to Unicorn Light Tarot. Sincerely hope everybody is doing amazingly well. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a gorgeous reading for you. Just a very quick announcement, very exciting. A brand new episode of the podcast, the Unicorn Light Podcast, is live. Yay! Good stuff. And this week we are talking about how to wake up your divine healing codes for health, prosperity, and abundance. So you don't want to miss that. We're absolutely going to go into how to use these codes, but it's more about how to bring in the energy of healing, how to get your vibration up, how to keep it consistent so you can help your body do what it was born to do: heal, be magical, and be prosperous. So all of those links are down below. That is episode 13, brand new and live. So today I thought what we would do is bring in some different energies for you today so you can figure out what you want to find out today. So we're doing pick a deck, intuitive reading just for you. We are tapping into your spirit guides. So deck 1 is Wisdom of the Avalon, if that feels like this is the deck for you. Deck 2 is Wisdom of the House of Night. Don't underestimate this deck. It packs a punch. If anybody's been working on shadow work or they want to check in with this kind of energy, that would be for you. And then we have deck 3 is your Cosmic Dancer Oracle. So if that is your deck, that is your deck. As always, take as much time as you need to really get in touch with your own intuition and drop into your heart chakra. The more aligned you are with your own knowledge and your own intuition, if I can say it right, then the more these collective readings are going to read to you as personal. So of course we have our general disclaimer. Take what resonates. Do not worry about what does not resonate. If one pile does not resonate, feel free to choose another one. If that one doesn't resonate, maybe the messages are not quite for you today. However, do feel free to check back with us because I'm sure at another time there will be. So let's get right into your readings. Deck 1, Deck 2, and Deck 3. See you back here soon. Okay, lovely pile ones. If you chose the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, then these are your intuitive messages from Spirit to you for this moment. Let's get right into your reading. So you have the Water Fairy here, feelings and emotions. Beautiful card there. And you have the Owl, deception and wisdom. Gorgeousness there. And number 13, wonderful. And then you have communication for your oracle cards. And then you have leadership, 81 and 9. And then you have physical activity, 67. All right, so some layered messages here for you today. Some of them are kind of basic and some of them are a little bit more involved. And that's perfectly fine. Let's see if we can get you the Water Fairy is up here for you. See if we can get these in for you. All right, so beautiful. We'll get you some more. We'll get you some tarot in a little bit. So the first message that's coming in for you too is there's a physical element to moving forward with you. So you can call it a physical activity, or on, again, many different layers, you can call it energy moving through you. So there is this really deep understanding of, and again, we talk about this in the podcast also, not to drop that, but it's just absolutely perfect. But we talk about the illusion of fear and what it does to you, and how we are programmed from such a young age to sort of have fear within our consciousness, to look out for the other shoe dropping, to look out for, to make sure that we're protected. And we're taught to sort of bring in these areas of protection, and we're called, protection, but actually it's fear. And we can do the same, we can move around the same way in the world with love. But love isn't encouraged as much because, that means that you can be autonomous and, think for yourself, and different kinds of leadership and this, that, and the other. So it's not as easily controlled, right? So this is an energy for you that you're really working out. When we talk about you create your own reality, a lot of people talk about that in spirituality, and yet we're still seeing sort of the old diatribes coming up constantly and constantly. So you're really delving deep into what that really means, doing the work of what that really means, coming up with this understanding of, all right, I can create my own reality at any given time. And one of the reasons why we can do this and how this is coming up is working with my emotionality, but particularly figuring out how much I live in fear. Or how I have my sort of fear glasses on, where I look at everything with fear or protection, or how I can look at everything with the lens of love and openness. Now, love isn't weak. You can be firmly grounded in your own reality, firmly grounded in boundaries, have your boundaries firmly set, know exactly who you are, and still be completely open and gracious to everybody. It doesn't mean that you need to take in everybody else's energy, not at all. But this is something that you're really doing. You're figuring out the difference between deception and wisdom in all causes, sort of on all levels, be it spiritual, physical, what works for you. Now, what works for you may not work for somebody else, and that's absolutely fine. That's part of bringing in your own reality, right? That's part of understanding what your own reality is. It doesn't necessarily need to work for other people. So coming back to this energy of communication, how you communicate with yourself, how you communicate with your cells, with your body, with your mind, and how you communicate then with the external world is really important. Now, for some of you, some old stuff and old feelings are coming up. That's totally fine. As we say here on Unicorn Light Tarot, no need to go down the rabbit hole. Now, for you, it really isn't. Definitely don't go down the rabbit hole. If some murky stuff is coming up, it's just showing you where it's coming from. There's a very specific lesson for you coming up here. And it's all about, it's trying to show you something, all this energy that's coming up. It's happening for you, not to you. So just remember that. But it's not energy that's still in and around you or completely integrated. It's coming up for review. So that's really important. And again, we have this physical movement. Physically moving this energy out. And of course, the end result is leadership. And that's going to look different for each and every one of you. It's a general reading, obviously. How you step up in your life in general, or stepping into a new leadership role, starting your own business, doing what you're doing on your own terms, stepping into a heartfelt, like a business or just a new way of life from your heartfelt self, doing things your own way and making them succeed, and having everything take off the way in which you want to, right? So there's nothing like passive about this reading. There's nothing really woo-woo about this reading. This is really, really deep work, and it's conscious work, but it's also working with the practical mind in a very, very specific way to say, no, this thought is fear-based. It's almost like everything's coming up again for review. It's happening for you, not to you. So don't get involved in any of the essences or any of the thoughts that are coming up. They're actually there to show you something. They're not there to direct you in any way. So if these thoughts are coming up, it's not for you to say, oh my goodness, I haven't done this work. I can't believe this is coming up again. It's not that at all. It's almost like it's coming up for review, where you can say, all right, that's fear-based thought. How do I turn this in? And you're all alchemists. You can do this quite easily. How do I turn this around into a love-based thought? Or how do I release it completely? It's just not true. So all of these things that may be coming up for you. So if any of you in the collective are feeling a little overwhelmed right now, take a step back. Take a really deep breath and take a huge step back. The first thing that we want to say to you, and again, we want to reiterate, this is so important. You're differentiating between deception and wisdom here, and that's very, very important. But there's not a lot of work to do here, so don't overwork this. So if things are coming up for you, it's not because you're not good enough, and it's not because you haven't done the work, and it's not because you're not ready in any way, shape, or form. Again, everything's coming up for review. review. It's almost like it's asking to be categorized. And if it's not working for you and you don't want to transmute the energy in this sort of alchemist kind of way, then you get to release it at this time and then step into this new purpose. A lot of you have stepped out of your comfort zone recently and you have an inkling of what you want to do. And if it's not specific, that's fine. It's not like, I need to do this and I need this to take off. But it's specific in the way of what you don't want, or specific in the sort of life that you want to lead, right? That you've been very specific about. So you've stepped out of your comfort zone and the universe is taking you to the next step. Now, this step is huge, it's massive, and it feels big, right? So that's why it's important not to get underneath the stone. For some of you, it feels as though it's weighted, it's heavy, there's gray matter there. But it's not for you to deliberate between all of these energies coming up. It's really just to be sort of heartfelt about the process, but being very, very clear about, again, differentiating between wisdom and deception. When this comes up, any thoughts that come up, is it, leading to wisdom or is it deceptive? I'm not good enough. All right, well, bring that up, because if you've stepped outside of your comfort zone and you're moving into a new layer of life, self-doubt's going to come up. It just is. So if that's coming up for you specifically, that's kind of a universal theme that comes up, right? Most of us have this. And it's psychology too, but it's also usually dormant. And we're usually working from this from a sort of from a deeper sense, from the psychological, from what we don't see, right? So this is all coming up for you for review. So this is excellent. It may not feel that way, but it means you can do something about it. So I'm not good enough. All right. Let's take that apart. Obviously, you are good enough. Obviously, you're going to get what you want. It is true. But I'm not good enough is coming from the lens of fear. Why is that lens of fear there? It's to protect you, just in case you don't make it, or just in case you fail. But none of that really exists, because even if it doesn't work out quite the way that you want it to work out, something better is there for you. And quite frankly, you need to move forward in order to make anything happen, right? So that doesn't even apply to you. So we can put that in deception. Now, how are you going to deal with this? You can release it completely, or you can turn it from fear to love and say, you know what? I love myself. I understand why I feel as though I'm not good enough. I've had X, Y, and Z happen to me, and I need to step up and just have faith in myself and have faith in the universe right now. I've come too far not to go back now. I know I can do this and everything's going to work out. So you can transmute it or you can release it altogether. But it's really important for you at this time, and this is very specific work, to deliberate whether it's deception or wisdom. There's no wisdom in that I'm not good enough, right? There's no wisdom in that, because it's not true. It's coming out from sort of dormant or older energy that's coming up, but it's obviously still there. So it's not subconscious anymore. It's conscious. Everything is conscious. Now, some of you may be feeling a little overwhelmed because everything's conscious, right? And we totally understand that, but we want to remind you that all of this works. A lot of us work, most of us, if not all of us, are working from an unconscious level one way or another. So all of this is up for review now, which means it's not unconscious anymore. Right? It's conscious, which means that you have the energy, you have the oversight to be able to do something about this and really shift and change your life. You're at this point where you can do this. So it may feel a little overwhelming. That's why you don't need to get into the energy of what's coming up. Don't go down that rabbit hole with it. Don't go down that rabbit hole of, oh my goodness, I'm not good enough. We're giving you that example. But it's a good example because a lot of you would be feeling this at this time. But you understand that it's not subconscious. If it's conscious, you can do something about it. You can shift it. So this is where you get to work with your ego and your beautiful practical mind to sort of shift and prioritize and categorize in some ways to say deception or wisdom. And you can move through this energy really, really easily, whether you're releasing or transmuting, whatever it is that you want to do. You're able to do this if you come in with a very practical, grounded mindset and move through this energy easily. That way you have communication with yourself. You also know you also know how to communicate differently with the external world. You're standing differently. Your energy feels different, and also on a very, very specific level. Maybe movement. As we're moving through, maybe we would never tell you how to work out, but however that works for you, you know, going for more walks or, you know, meditating could be a physical activity depending on how you do it. You know, you're using your mind. Yes, you're relaxing, but you're using it in a certain way. However that means to you, if it feels like you need to step up and physically move this energy out of your body, especially if you're working with trauma, in any way, moving your body in completely different ways that you wouldn't. It just gets silly. Put on music and get completely silly and move your body in completely different ways, because your mind and your neurons will fire completely differently and help you out with this in a very sort of basic psychological way of how your body works and move you forward, right? Let's get you some more specific information with this. But this is a very exciting time. We want to remind you that if this is coming up for you and you're at this sort of, not exactly crossroads, because there's, you know, you're moving forward, and this energy is in the collective. So if you've come outside of your comfort zone and you feel as though your back's up against the wall a little bit, and this is the reason why, it means that you're really out there and you're about to take off. And this happens, and I talk about this all the time, you know, it's, you know, when you step outside of your comfort zone, things don't always automatically get easy. The universe absolutely does test you. And this is not necessarily a test. This is a way that the universe is just working with you in such a way to move you forward successfully. So you're exactly where you need to be. And again, remember, this is happening for you, not to you. It may not feel that way, but again, if you approach this in a sort of a more practical way, right? And again, this is where the practical mind and the ego comes in so very well. It will help you categorize how this is going to work and move you forward in a really beautiful way. So let's see what we have for you here. You've got the Five of Swords, and you've got the Princess of Wands here. So you've got this beautiful, passionate energy ready to move forward. You've got the Eight of Wands. It's absolutely happening for you. And you've got the Fool. These absolutely gorgeous cards, beautiful cards. You are on the precipice of moving forward. And also, there is an opportunity coming in for you from the external straight to you, which means that it's not that there's a time stamp on this, so we definitely don't want to do this weekend or it won't happen. Not at all. Whatever's meant for you is absolutely meant for you. If anything, take a deep breath and move into the energy and calm down. Don't worry about it. But yeah, the old stuff is coming up in a way, but it's coming up in a really, really, really specific way for you not to drag yourself down, but for you to really, you've been underestimating yourself. This is a way for you to step up and really see your power. So what you're able to do is you're able to really differentiate between your power and see where it comes from, right? And what's been holding you back is fear. It's what everything's, but it's pretty much everybody has a fear-based lens in which we see the world, right? For the most part. Even people who are sort of, in spirituality, we all have it. So really understanding how fear works for you and how it's been integrated on a very personal level for you can be liberating. And this is coming up for you because this opportunity is a physical opportunity coming in from the externals coming in. So it does feel as though everything's coming in at the same time. Like your back is up against the wall a little bit because it feels like it's a little overwhelming for some of you because there is a little bit of a time element on it. There's a portal opening up for you to move into something bigger because you've already opened up that portal. It's a matter of walking through it. So again, whatever's meant for you is going to happen, but it's wanting you to do this work quite quickly because again, there's no reason for you to be dragged down. You've got the Fool card. You're ready for this new beginning, but this new beginning is not just sort of, it's on your path. You already know what this is. You've already, for a lot of you, you're specific about what this life looks like for you. You're eager to get onto that life, and there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to have the life that you want. You've got the passion, you've been putting in the work one way or another, either directly or indirectly. You've been putting in this work. Those seeds are ready to really sprout now for you to be able to see them above ground and see them blossom. So for you, walking through this will be easy if you know how to use it and you have the right tools. So let's get you a couple more cards for this. Yeah, you've got the Hermit here. A lot of this work that you've been doing, oh, and you've got the Magician, gorgeousness. So a lot of this work you've been doing sort of on your own terms, which is absolutely brilliant. This is very, very deep work. It's also work for the collective. It's also work for your bloodline, and also past life energy that's coming up for you too. That's another thing to differentiate between two. This is old energy that's coming up that in your past life, right? So you can say, extract the wisdom from that, the strength from those past lives, because they're very much with you in this lifetime. You brought in that wisdom, but we don't need the rest of it. We don't need the fear of communicating. We don't need the fear of people not understanding us, for miscommunication. Trust that the right people are going to understand, right? Understand what we're saying and understand our energy and our vibe. You have this beautiful energy. You have this passion to be able to work in this world. And you taken yourself out of the world, and I guess in some ways we all have, right? We've been made to, right, in the last 2 years. But you've been on this path for a longer time than that, and you've been doing this very much on your own terms, which is absolutely wonderful, right? But this is a time for you to integrate back into the world, and this is a general theme that's coming up into the collective. How do we integrate back into the world on our own terms? And we're not just talking about the last 2 years, right? We're talking about how the world is being navigated, the way in which we want to see the world, the way in which the world we want to live in. How do we live in this new world when it doesn't quite exist yet? Well, we create it for ourselves. And this is a way that you can do it. You've absolutely got the passion, and you have the knowledge and the wisdom to be able to do this too. And you have the power. So this is sort of a final call, right? Before you board that plane. Once you board that plane, you're off, you're taking off. This is your final call. And it's very, very exciting. And it's very important for you not to get dragged down into the details of what's coming up. Again, categorize. Keep it very clinical if you want to. And again, deal with it with physical activity and get that energy out of your body any way that you feel as though is necessary. But it's really important for you to see this for what it is. It's not coming up to tempt you or to tell you that this isn't your path, or that you're not doing enough work, or that you're not good enough, or that what you've chosen isn't for you. Not at all. It's quite the opposite. It's literally clearing out the old so you can step up into this new paradigm and create this world that you want. So stay with the magic, stay with the passion, stay with the alchemy, right? And stay with the strength, and know you've absolutely got this. And I know it sounds absolutely ridiculous, and very conscious of that while we're saying this, but the heaviness that you might be feeling, it's happening because you are that powerful. But you don't have to take on the heaviness. Again, get very clinical about this. Work with your beautiful ego. Work with your beautiful practical mind here. Now, your ego also will be trying to do this through the fear-based lens, right? But that's fine. Drop into the heart space. Integrate that love energy coming in and go, I'm not going to categorize through the fear-based lens necessarily. I don't need to do that. I can transmute through it. However, I do not need that clinical aspect of that practical mind of not taking it in. So sometimes it's good to bring in the energy and really sit with it. So we're told all different things, and each one of them works in different situations. Sometimes we don't need to work with the energy. We just need to observe it. Sometimes it's good for you to be right in the center of that energy to see what it's teaching us. But right now, you've done that. You're right. If you go into the center of it, it's going to feel like you're in the eye of the storm, but not in a very comfortable way, not in a very safe way. Because if you're in the eye of the storm is all around you. It's much more beneficial for you at this point if you take it as it is and you observe it. But again, keep it at arm's length. If you observe it for what it is and what it meant for you in the past. But again, these are all outmoded ways of being. So don't get dragged down into this energy and start celebrating. Something is coming in for you. Absolutely. Start celebrating. If you have, usually we say stay in the present moment, but if you have hindsight to move into the energy of the future too, keep that energy with you and keep that celebration, that sort of the backdrop of celebration coming in. It's going to be easier for you to transmute this energy, but stay with it. You've absolutely got this, and you've got the passion and the strength and the power and the leadership that as you move forward that you're going to possess. You already do, but it's going to be free and expanded in the world. It's going to take you to new levels. So stick with this, pile one. You've absolutely got this, but don't go down that rabbit hole. So that's what we have for you. Beautiful, brand new, moving forward, new way of being, pile one. Don't forget we have a new live episode that will absolutely help you with this too. All those links are down below, and there's also lots of other things, lots of other goodies and beauties down below. So feel free to check that out. Most of them are free. And of course, do subscribe if you haven't already. We would love to have you, and click that bell icon for 2 of these beautiful psychological readings every week, getting deep and dirty and finding out what you need to know so you have all the information to move forward and get that fabulous life that you absolutely deserve. Until we meet again, pile one, take care. Bye-bye. Okay, gorgeous pile twos. If you chose Wisdom from the House of Night, this is one of my favorite decks here, then this is your pick a deck, and it's intuitive reading just for you, just between you and your spirit guides, what you need to know now. So let's see what we have here for you. You've got the High Priestess of Air. Gorgeousness here. Love that card. And then you have Choices. Wonderful. And then you have Forbidden. Interesting. Love this, love this. Okay. And then you have Nature. And then you have Personal Growth. Number 7. So you've got some 7s in here. Pile 2. This is an incredible reading. Let's put this, I love this energy. So you are really redefining sort of your own power and where it comes from. And it's very attractive, and it's absolutely beautiful. So well done. So you are really moving through sort of a barrier in your personal growth and getting back to who you are. So for some of you, it's not even forbidden energy. It may have felt forbidden for you, or something that you were a little bit nervous about, or, not to put too fine a point on it, but maybe delving into occult type themes, or it could be just as simple as really understanding the notion of evil, right? And again, how we've been programmed in society to see evil and have this polarity of good versus evil. The idea of if there's a demon, we can fight it, we can cast it out. And of course, it's in all the biblical books and this, that, and the other, but actually, there's light and dark in either one of us, and we shouldn't cast out the darkness. Really, the darkness can show us everything, right? The darkness is beautiful. It doesn't have to be evil, and it doesn't have to be feared. So this is something that you've known intrinsically, without a shadow of a doubt. But the way in which you're stepping up and you're navigating these waters that in the past could have been quite treacherous for you in some ways, because even though you didn't personally necessarily believe some of this, some of your upbringing, and again, we're very much, we've been seeing this, it's been really coming up in the collective, especially in the last 2 years, but really, throughout sort of history, how programmed we are in society. And there's no way that we don't have programming. There's very few of us have not been in the programmed sense, depending on how you were brought up, right? I'm sure there's a few people out there who have not been programmed, who live closer to the land and this, that, and the other. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but for the most part in Western society and this, that, and the other, there's programming, and a lot of it is this duality of good versus evil. So what you've been doing is you've really been understanding this notion for you. And again, this is a general reading, so it's going to be very personal for each and every one of you. But the way in which you've been stepping up, you've been realizing that there's, and this may sound a little bit strange, but bear with us for a minute, there's choices in the darkness. And again, we want to be very clear, the darkness is not evil by any stretch of the imagination. Evil isn't even necessarily evil, right? What we're told is evil isn't necessarily evil. Even the way that evil is bounded around, society, like dairy is evil, this, that, and the other is evil. And it's like, it may not be good for you, and it certainly isn't good for the animals, what they go through. That's terrible. But, evil, the way in which we, and that's just an example. And of course, that's from my own personal stuff. But it's the way in which we bound around this word. It's become sort of almost too complacent. We just use it in very specific ways where it's sort of lost its meaning, and at the same time it's taken on too much of a meaning. And this is something that you've gone in and you've broken it all down and said, all right, I'm taking evil off the table, or if you do put it on the table, you're going to dissect it and see where it all comes from. So in the way in which you've done this is very, very deep work. You've been able to see where you begin and sort of society sort of meets you halfway, and where society wants to come in, and again, the programming. So, parts of the programming are really understanding how we've been programmed, and also to do the work further. It's great to see the programming and to call out the programming, but unless we do this deep inner work to really figure out how the programming has worked within our own human design, then a lot of this work of calling out really falls flat. And really, at the end of the day, all that really does is it sort of pays more attention to the status quo. It doesn't move us forward in any way, right? So calling out without doing the deep work is only half the work. And this is what you've been doing. This is what you've been figuring out. Now, this is a new level of personal growth for you. It means that you can move literally in any direction that you want to. And also there's a new understanding of freedom for you, where before there were sort of doors or gates that were closed. You're opening them now because you can understand on a deeper level how this sort of hindered you before. Oh, I was afraid of that, but there was really no fear of it. When I actually see it, there's no fear. It's almost like watching something, watching your life back, and before, as you look through it, you saw it was really horrific, certain parts of it. And now as you look through it and you look over the details again, and you go, well, it doesn't excuse what's happened without a shadow of a doubt, but I can come away from this, really renewed and understanding why this all happened to me, and what is going on, and how this works on this level, this layer for me, and how I can interject that into the world. Insofar as, to be specific, how I've gone through this, why I've gone through it, and how I can utilize this specific information, this specific wisdom, because it's deep and it's dark, and I've got this knowledge now. So let's get you some more information. But again, just like it's very different energy from Pile 1. And of course, this deck is not for the faint-hearted in some ways, right? It's nothing, it's not even a heavy deck necessarily, but for those of you who chose this, you're ready for this information. But, in this way, you do have something in common with Pile 1, because Pile 1 is using the beautiful practical mind and even the ego to really assess what it is that's going on. So bringing in the sort of recesses of all of your mind here, like the practical mind, how that works, and again, how fear has eluded us. I always say fear is its own keeper. Once you bring it in, and most of us have fear colored glasses, we see the world through fear colored lenses. This is something that's why, evil is this or this is that. And, if you touch tarot cards, you're going to get possessed and all of that other stuff. It's all fear based, obviously, right? But if you get through all of that and you see through to the other side of it, is that on the other side, it's that when you get through that, you get this understanding that you are your own person, and you have this incredible power. And it's very liberating to really truly understand that no one's really coming after you, including the devil, right? They're not really coming after you. They're just not. You've been told that they are, so you're always looking out for them. So this is a way that you've integrated all of the way, and this is just one specific way that, in many different ways we're told in society or religion, and it's backed up here and there, even in advertising they use good versus evil, all sorts of things, and the way in which you're working with it in your own individual paradigm to break down those codes within yourself and see how you've understood this energy, and then pull away from it with that practical mind and say, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. This deep, deep, dark work, right? So you've got the Six of Swords here, and then you've got the Ace of Wands here, which is this newfound sort of freedom that's coming in for you. This Three of Wands, beautiful energy here. I love this. And this Two of Cups, absolutely. So coming into this energy of harmony, because This is all for you to move forward in a new way, in a way that you never have before, in a sort of a way that takes you out of society completely, but on your own terms, right? And it also puts you in a new level of harmony, which is absolutely beautiful. And this is what we do this work for. We go through the darkness to, it's a prelude, right? We go through this darkness so we can really understand who we are, so we can move through it and then see the harmony that we can bring in. And you're just making these new essences, these new ways of being. And you've got this beautiful, intricate energy of passion. But sometimes you run so hot, you sort of burn yourself out. And also, sometimes you take on too many concepts at the same time. And you're like, well, I don't know what's true and what isn't. So what you've been doing is taking on people's individual truths as they're presented as the collective, and then trying to go through that. And there's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it's a hell of a lot of time to go through everybody's individual's truth, to sort of refigurate how you want to be in the world. So now you're only focusing on yourself. You're only focusing on what feels right to you and doing this deep, dark work, which means that you can move in any direction, right? And that's all part of the collective. Now, the collective reasoning of moving forward in a completely new direction means that you do have harmony in your own system, in your own health, how you move forward, how you present yourself to the world, who you are, your own authenticity. It's also quite painful in a way, because this work means that you are no longer part of the system anymore in any way, shape, or form, which means that, when you show up with your truth, it's not going to feel the same as everybody else's. It just isn't. And that, for some of you who have been doing this work and you're coming out on the other side of it now, we want to give you that support, because you're feeling as though, oh my God, I'm completely out there, right? I'm completely out there. Everything that I'm saying is not like anybody else, or the energy behind it is not like everybody else. I completely feel like I'm on my own here. And that could lead you to, hopefully not, but if it is leading you to second guessing whether you have the right energy, or if you're on the right path, or if you're going crazy, you're not. You are stepping forward in a way that not a lot of people are. So, and you're doing this work on a solo affair. So of course it's going to feel, naturally it's going to feel that you're on the precipice of something, which is kind of exciting, but also terrifying. And then of course your practical mind is going to say, well, nobody else is doing this. Oh, let's step back here. Maybe something's going wrong. We're the first one here. Nobody wants to be the first one at the party, right? They always want to be fashionably late, wearing pearls, and whether you're male or female, and having some fun and whatever. Everybody wants to be fashionably late, right? Myself included. So, you're here, you're kind of first to the party, and this feels just a little bit strange for you. However, there's strength in that. So again, the energy of Pile 1 is very different, but there's a similarity in that, in the collective, insofar as using your practical mind and using that reasoning here is going to really help you out, instead of getting lost in your emotions. So you're the first one at the party. That's fine. You're not showing up to the party saying, this is who I am completely. You're not willing to change yourself. You're actually sort of in this mode that anything can happen in a good way, and that you're open and you're expansive, and you're constantly changing and shifting. But what you've done is you've changed and shifted out of the old so much. The old, you can't go back to the old anymore, right? You just can't. And a lot of folks are still sort of in the old, even though they're sort of, there's been a mass awakening, sure, but there's still old paradigms that still need to be played out, and there's no judgment. It just needs to happen, right? We don't get from A to B immediately. Sometimes you've got to go from A to Z to F to whatever, definitely F, right? So, but you've been doing this inner work before the 2 years. So you had your awakening before all of this. So you're the first one to the party. So stay with it. You've absolutely got this. And remember, stay in harmony with who you are. Know who you are and be okay with just leaning in and surrendering to the universe. That's going to help you at this point, because you need some kind of container, because the society isn't there for you anymore, right? And again, work with your ego. Sure, it's going to come in with some fear-based stuff. It always does. But then come in with your reasonable and rational mind and say, you know what, we're breezing through this, whatever's coming up for us right now. And again, this happened in pile 1. We're just going to stay with it, but we are going to stay on track for what we want to do, because some of your minds are saying, yeah, no, we don't want to be the first one at the party. Let's hold back a little bit. Maybe we're not ready. Maybe you are ready. You're absolutely ready to move forward. Be firm in that first person at the party. That's totally fine, because you know what? You can hold your own. And other people are coming in for you. You can absolutely hold your own, and you've got the passion to be able to do this. And all of the work that you've been doing has been leading you up to this moment anyway, right? So all you need to do is fully and totally embrace where you are. That's so incredibly important right now. Fully embrace exactly where you are and honor it. It's okay. And it's also okay not to know exactly what's going to happen next, because you are in a brand new place. And that's fine. Just stay where you are and really, really concentrate on surrendering and asking for help. Drop down into your heart chakra. What do I do next? What am I supposed to do for my highest self today? A lot of this deep dark work of going in and reintegrating sort of the darkness has already been done for you. So there's no reason for you to stay in the dark, as it were. But you can, as you're coming out of that knowledge of the dark, it's almost like you're putting your head out of the sort of cave for the first time. So it's going to take you a while to acclimate. And then again, on top of that, you've acclimated yourself out of your complete comfort zone. Right, but that comfort zone was sort of killing you in a way. I mean, at least spiritually, not to be too intense, but for some of you, it was not getting you where you wanted to be. So this is where you want to be. We want to remind you this is what you've asked for. Not to say you've asked for it, so deal with it. No, this is, from a sensitive point of view. You have asked for it, which means that you have everything you need to make this work for you. Now, this definitely is a brand new place for many of you that you've never been before. And because there isn't that sort of security of society, it can feel as though you're out there on the limb, right? And you are. We're not going to say that you're not. But remember, get into that harmony aspect. Really surrender to the universe. It's so important for you to work with your guides right now, because they absolutely, and whether your spiritual guides, your angels, Palladians, galactic guides, whoever you work with, galactic guides would be wonderful for you at this moment. If you're working with them, angels can work with you, even your ancestors. A lot of you have really felt your ancestors coming in, and a lot of friends, have passed on. That's a lot of that energy. That's because they really know where you are, and they're here to support you in every way. And you're also doing this work for them. You're doing this work for a brighter future, for something that can absolutely happen on this earth. And it's really shifting and it's really changing, and it is happening, but it's got to happen within the individual, right? You've got to do the work yourself, right? Calling out is only a small portion of what we need to do here to shift the world. Calling out is important. It's absolutely important, right? But taking it much more into insular, getting that work done. And this is something that you've not been afraid of. And in fact, many of you were born for this kind of work. So some of you are actually feeling, because you're so born for this kind of work, now you're sort of on the other side of it going, all right, I like working with the darkness. I kind of know how it works. And, taking everything apart and putting it all back together again, but slightly differently, and working with my mind and this, that, and the other. And and observing and researching and whatever it is that you're doing, and taking part of all of this. So now that you're sort of in this active mode where that work is done, it's like, all right, well, I do want this other thing. I do want to step up as a leader. I do want to do this in my life. I do want harmony. I do want that happy life. I do want that magical life. But it's always been doing the work for you. You're coming out of that work mode, so it's going to feel weird. But at the same time, we want you to ease into this effortless kind of energy. Once you surrender to the process, some of you are resisting it a little bit just because you're so used to doing all of the work yourself, right? It's almost like you're not exactly in the controlling way, but you need to get out of your own way and let the universe deliver. It's almost like you're so used to doing the work, the deep, heavy work, right? Which the universe cannot do for you. However, you're at the point where you've done the work, the universe wants to help you, and you're still trying to do the work, right? But now you're not in alignment, you're in the controlling element of it, which is fine. You're not actually trying to control. It's just that you're just using all of the information and the way in which you worked before. So take a step back. Just let everything come in. Let that expansiveness come in. Really acknowledge where you are. You can look back and have a celebration, because where you are now and where you were before are two different places, obviously. Trust that where you're going, there's this really stable point for you from which to take off. You'll absolutely be able to do that. And it's important for you to really work with the energy of your guides and surrendering, because this over-analyzing and this wondering what's next kind of thing, but trying to make it happen because you're used to doing the work, isn't going to happen now. It's all about effortless and trusting that everything that you want can now come easily. Remember, you've been doing this work, so when you get to the other side of it, everything can be much easier than it was before. This is where you get to cash in, your chips at the casino, right? You get to cash them in, and you're still trying to play. You're still going back to play, but you don't even need the money, right? So cash in your chips, pile 2. It's time for you to cash in your chips and just let everything unfold. You've done the work. You've absolutely got this, right? Surrender, move forward, and just have that relationship. Work with that relationship with trust with yourself again, this new you, and this new relationship that you're going to have with the universe and with surrendering, because it's going to be different. It's going to look different for you now, because the old way of doing things was supporting you in work that you've moved out of now. But you've absolutely got this. Remember, the end result is magic. The end result is harmony, and pretty much whatever it is that you've sowed the seeds for can come back to you now. So just allow it to come in. All right, pile 2, that's what we have for you. Sending you so much love, unity, and beauty for you, exactly who you are and where you are in the world. If you have not subscribed already, we would love to have you. Do not forget, beautiful new episode 13 of our podcast. All the details are down below. It's how to use divine coding and how to make it work, right? We can just give you the codes, right? That's easy. You can find the codes online. None of that's rocket science, but having it work successfully, that's what this is all about. So check that all out. We've got plenty of links down below, how to work with this energy and support. So many things for you. Go be you. Go choose what works for you with your intuition, and we will see you again another time. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, beautiful pile 3s. If you chose the Cosmic Dancer Oracle, then your pick a deck is obviously Cosmic Dancer. And these are intuitive readings just for you, between you and your spirit guides, what you need to know right now. Let's get right into your reading. Your first card is Look in the Mirror, and it's number 40. If you want to take note of that, let's see. It's a beautiful card there. And then we have Be Magnetized, 42. Look at that. And then we have Clear the Vessel, number 1. And then you've got Karmic Completion, 10. And you've got Surrender, 91. Beautiful. Look at this. Let's get these organized for you so you can see them better. Okay. So let's put these here. So pile 3, beautiful pile 3. You have, you've got some great energy going on here. This here. For you. You've got some great energy coming on. So now pile 1, different energy completely, but there was a little bit of heaviness. So some of you might be feeling a little bit of that heaviness and sort of being a little bit surprised by it at this point too, because you're like, this old stuff's coming up. But for you, it's very, very specific. It's actually just old karmic stuff coming up and sort of leaving. It's really... It's again in pile 2 we talked about stuff coming up for review, but it's very, very different for you. It's just this energy that's coming up, but it really does not need your attention necessarily. It's It's not even coming up for review like it did in pile one. There's a very specific way that, we set the container for them to work with that energy. But for you, it's about this karmic completion. Now, it might sound a little bit woo woo, but for some of you, this is, and again, this is a general reading, but it's collective also. Some of the stuff that's coming up is past life stuff. So with the karmic completion, it's a very specific way that you're working with energy. And the way in which you're working with it is that some of this energy from past life has been infused in this lifetime. And of course, there were mirrors in this lifetime that really sort of highlighted the past life stuff. And this will be conceptual in some way, but it'll be the way in which it'll... for some of you, and again, as an example, the way in which you communicated, or the way in which you were seen or not seen, or the way in which you were afraid to communicate your deep, dark soul, that sort of thing. This could have been like a tightened area for you, something that was really fraught with desire, definitely, of wanting to be able to do this. But every time you did it, something happened, and it sort of backfired in a way. And, you've been working through this energy consistently in your lifetime and wondering what's been going on. Well, that was highlighted from your past life, but again, mirrored in this lifetime and integrated into different sections in your life. All of that's coming up, not for review like pile one, but it's coming up because it's been completed. But as it's coming up, it's more or less that the energy is coming up once and for all for you to see it and leave it. Right? But it's not coming up for review. It's not coming up for healing. It's coming up to show you that the karmic ties that you have are completed. So it's for you to surrender and let them go. Now, this could be for some of you kind of overwhelming because these are deep, dark essences, because these are from past lives, again, that have been integrated and sewn into this lifetime for sure. But they've come in from past lives. Now, how do you know that it's a past life thing? If it's something that's like really hitting home with you, like the communication factor, and as you look back on your life, you can sort of see why you would have it. But this deep sort of initial panic or this deep fear almost seems borderline irrational, the way in which you deal with it. Like it doesn't seem conceptually like it's so heightened to the point where you're like, all right, I do understand that based on X, Y, and Z, this has happened to me, that I would be a little gun shy, sure. But this irrationality, this sort of, even for some of you, sort of borderline paranoia doesn't make any sense. That's because it's past life. It's coming in from a past life thing. So it's triggering something from a past life. And again, that's been sewn into this lifetime, right? So if any of that stuff is coming up right now, that's triggering you, in some ways, but in this sort of deep, dark way that sort of doesn't make sense, but it's very much there and feels quite heavy, then you know that there's karmic completion going on. It's coming up for, again, you can call it a review, but you don't have to go through it. When you review something, you're supposed to read it all first, right? And then review it. You've gone through it. So there doesn't need any extra energy on your part. But before it needs to leave, right, you need to have an active part in this. And the active part is surrendering. And you can only surrender to this energy when you realize what it's doing and why it's here. A lot of you are taking in this energy going, I don't know why this is here. And even though it doesn't quite make sense to you, you've still taken it in. So it's just about understanding why it's showing up and getting into the process of surrendering. And it doesn't mean surrendering to it. It means surrendering through it, right? Surrendering through it. So the only way to really see this is that for some of you, and we'll take this communication because it might be for some of you, it's the one example that's coming up, and it's coming up in the collective too. So we're going to use this as an example. If the way in which you communicate is sort of terrifying you a little bit, and again, the way in which you've stepped up and started communicating recently is really terrifying you because you come into a new version of authenticity for you, and you're feeling good about that, and you're feeling confident about that, and it doesn't really equate to how you're feeling when you start communicating and you're feeling that this darkness around it and this really heavy energy, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. The only way to work with this is to get through it, because In past lives, the way in which you communicated could have there could have been persecution around that. There is a reason why you feel this way. It's not arbitrary. Something may have happened to you, but again, that's a past life. And you hold the wisdom from all of your past lives and the blueprints of all of your past lives, but you're not here to reenact past lives. That's not at all what you're here to do. But there's still a trigger element within your soul that might be coming up. And again, it's being activated because this is completing and it's letting you know it's being completed. So the only way to get to the new precipice is to go through it, is to step up and communicate anyway, is to keep doing it no matter what. Even if it's incredibly uncomfortable, just do it. Because after a while, when you get onto the other side, you're going to realize there's a click that's going to happen. And it's going to click sort of on a metaphorical sense. It's going to be on a spiritual sense, and definitely on a physical sense, where you realize when you're on a plateau on the other side of this and you're outside of that karmic completion, you're done. You're done with it. Right now, it still feels like you're in the middle of it because you're not acknowledging it as a karmic completion. Once you move through this energy and do it anyway, you will physically get on the other side of it. And then you'll be able to see sort of this macro version of what's going on. Oh, hell. All right, I get it now. Okay, I'm being cleared. I am being absolutely cleared from all of this karmic stuff from past life, but again, has been integrated very, very firmly in this lifetime too. So you're clearing from all lifetimes, right? And this is all setting you up to be able to be magnetic, do whatever it is that you want to do. And let's be clear, even in past lives, you were probably magnetic too, but you still had that persecution or something probably happened. And that's what you're thinking. You're thinking, the more magnetic I am, the more I'm going to be persecuted, or the more this is going to happen, or, and in some ways you want to keep yourself small. Again, this is a very specific ideology that we're talking about, but because this is very much in the collective right now, it may appear like this for each and every one of you to some degree. But if it's not communication, then it's something else. It's intimacy, or it's authority, or whatever it is. It's something that's coming up for you. And again, it's not necessarily for review, because we don't want you to go through absolutely everything. It's just for you to acknowledge that it's completing. But you cannot complete until you go through it and do all of the steps anyway. So, our heart goes out to you. It can be a really terrifying process to go through all of this, but hopefully we can give you the understanding of what's going on. So if you're cognizant of that, then it may not be as terrifying as you walk through it. But the only way to do it is to actually go through it. Go through it and come out on the other side, and you'll be able to see it, right? So let's see if we can get you some more specificity. I don't know that word. Can't say it. More specifics here for you. So for some of you, it could be the communication and on different levels that you're working with. But it's all to do with presenting yourself to the world. It's all to do with how you are, and not necessarily how you want to be seen, but how you are. But it's all next level stuff, and it's wonderful. Moving forward, you've got the Six of Discs. That's beautiful, and that's looking into the mirror to see yourself perfectly. You've got the Seven of Swords here. And you've got the Ace of Discs. Yeah, absolutely, moving forward. And you've got the Four of Swords. I'm going to turn it up this way for you. So you've got everything in balance and alignment here. And again, this is old, and when we say old, we really do mean old. Because the past lives, you can't really get older than that, right? Past lives, but these are past human lives, to be very, very specific. These are past lives that you've had on this earth. That we are talking about. So these are life lessons that are coming in a very specific way with your karma for you to move through it and have this new way of moving forward. A lot of you have stepped up recently and said, this is what I want, universe, I'm ready, I'm not willing to settle anymore. You've done that. And you've worked very hard to find that balance within you, to differentiate the different truths between people versus you, coming back to a very heartfelt felt space, living from your heart center and really honoring what it is that you want, right? And having the guts to go for it. So this is something that you're ready to do, and this is just sort of next level. As you were doing that work, it activated this karmic energy, right? Which needed to release in order to allow you to be free to pursue as you move forward. Because this brilliance, this light that you have, this energy that you have, this is absolutely gorgeous. But if it's sort of encased in this karmic stuff, then you're always going to make yourself just a little bit smaller than you need to be. So this is all about being as gracious and as huge as you can get, right? In this lifetime, as expansive as you can get. Because a lot of you have actually stepped up and said, all right, how far can I go? Let's do this, right? You've said it in your own words, in your own terms, and even thought it. You're saying, not only do I want an amazing life, and I'm willing to put myself out there, but how far can we really do this? Like, what can I really do? And maybe you are all doing it in a different way, like incremental level. You're starting off with this, and then a week later you're going, maybe I'm going to push it to this. Maybe this is what I want to do. Maybe this is what I want to do. And this is not a small thing, because in that week, years ago, it would have taken you 6 months to say, you know what, actually, I'm going to step up. To take that leap that you've been doing in a week. Some of you have been doing it in an hour. Some of you have been doing it in a minute. You start off with a negotiating point and say, you know what, I want to go bigger. I just want to go bigger. I want to do this. So to be able to step into those shoes and have that energy to pull it off, you need that freedom to be able to do that, right? And that freedom is being handed to you. When we say handed to you, you've done a lot of work to get free from this karma. You've done a lot of work, and karma has its own way of working. It's actually quite complicated in many ways, and a lot of people sort of misunderstand what karma is, but you've been working through that energy. You absolutely have, and that surrendering process coming into it. And it doesn't matter whether you understand really how karma works or how it doesn't. It exists, and it all affects us in a certain way, right? And you're not in the process of really understanding how it would work in your earthbound existences that you may or may not have an inkling of. You probably, for most of you, have an inkling of, but probably don't know the specifics of it, right? And even if you do, there's no real way to find out if it's right or wrong. But the inklings of it, the lessons from it, you will understand. You carry those codes within you. So this is just a matter of you moving to a brand new level, but this is an incredible level because it's in a level of freedom that sort of puts you in a position to really achieve those heights that you are, you're ready to step into. You're ready to step into. And as we said with Paul too, start celebrating now. Do it, absolutely, because you've done the work for this. You've done the deep-seated work for this. And you are magnetic. Even when you put yourself out there in very, very small ways, you're extremely magnetic. You understand that. You feel it. And there's no reason why the magnetics of who you are, no matter what you decide to lend that magnetic energy to, shouldn't be able to come back to infinite abundance. This idea that, that we can be spiritual, but, not successful or not rich or whatever. You can be whatever you want. You can have absolutely all of it. We want to remind you that the more spiritual beings have more, as spiritual beings, the more of those people who have the money, they have the power to be able to shift the world. And yeah, money does matter in some ways. Obviously it does, right? It's not a dirty word. It's beautiful abundance. If you have more of it, then you're in a position to shift the world the way in which you want to see it shift. So it's more important for you to have money, really, because you have integrity. So why wouldn't you want as much money as you possibly can, right? And it doesn't mean that that's an active way for you to move forward. I'm just going to move forward for the money. That's how people sort of get out of alignment with abundance and money, and that really misunderstand what it is. It's there for have fun. It's there to build communities. It's there to shift everything, right? So, but you can go in there with all of the beauty that you have, and you have the chance to shift all of this, and you know that you have the integrity to be able to do this. So why on earth would you not want the most expanded life that you possibly can get? Absolutely, you would want that. You're exactly the sort of person that we want out there, not necessarily representing anyone, but going out there and changing the world. So of course you want this for yourself, and you can absolutely get it. And the level of magnetism that you have when you're not making yourself small, when the old in any layer or the fabric of yourself is not coming up to pull you back at any given moment, you can do whatever you want. And this is a brand new moment for you to be able to do that. You've been working in this area of really balancing, and sometimes you've overbalanced, understanding that real balance comes from surrendering, but from doing the work and then surrendering. And that's the real balance. So this is an incredible time for you. And like we said, in politics, start celebrating now. This is an incredible time for you to step forward. This is an incredible time for you to be who you are and really click into this expansive energy. And again, if you're still in this energy of, I'm feeling darkness, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, it feels very heavy, just go through it. It's not coming up. None of this stuff is coming up for you to relive in any way, shape, or form. You're not going to have to go through anything, any situation that's going to relive it in any way. And if that's coming up for you just in a little inkling here and then pull back. You're putting too much energy into this and you're attracting that. You don't need to do that. You've already served the lessons. It does not do you any good to go through these lessons and learn them again. You've got this. But you are going to have to go in there and sort of face that fear and get through it. But hopefully you'll realize now that this is put into context, that this is all coming up for you to identify it and move through it and surrender into something good, right? None of this is designed to stop you anyway, or to have you have these self-doubts. Like some of you are like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this because, all of this is coming up for me now. Maybe this is a sign that I'm supposed to go in a different direction. Or no, it's a sign for you to step up and move through it anyway. You've absolutely got this. Again, you're on the precipice of something bigger than you've even asked for. So this expansion requires the same amount of energy of expansion, and this is the way that you can do it. Now, some of you are on the other side of that. You've gone through this and you're feeling the expansion of the karmic completion, and you will know what that feels like. It feels like freedom. It feels like a brand new beginning. Not just, I haven't been here before, but I haven't been here before. I can make this work. The world is my oyster. What do I do next? There's nothing I can't do. Do I go on? You get the message, right? This is a brand new level of this. Normally, as we're moving up incrementally, and we have this one plateau, and then we reach another one. But this is like a portal, a brand new door, like swinging open to move in any different direction. That's not to say that you won't be growing and expanding and moving forward in different directions, but this is a huge sort of gust moving you forward. So let's just get one more for you. Feeling one more card for you, pile 3. This is a very exciting time, regardless of where you are in this process. Again, hopefully the context helps. So you've got the 10 of discs here. You've got the 10 of pentacles here. So this is all about this freedom of thought, of moving forward and gaining. I don't know if we like that word. Pulling in, attracting, magnetizing. Love that word for you. Magnetizing this beautiful life that you want. Again, on many different levels, many different successes, but absolutely tangible without a shadow of a doubt. But it's all to provide sort of this new world that you want to see. You don't want to just live in this new world on your own. You want to create this new world, not just for your family and friends, but out there too. And you need resources for that. And this is what you're here to do. You're actually here to build sort of new lighthouses in the sky. That sounds a little bit weird, but you're here to build new ways of seeing and being, and build them from the ground up. And yes, that takes resources. And yes, you're going to be in a position to be able to do that. And yes, there is absolutely no reason why somebody who's spiritual and has an immense amount of integrity can't be rich too. In fact, if we can make that the new norm, this world would be a completely different place, right? And that's what you're here to do. So regardless of where you are in this process, hold the faith, stay with the surrendering, go through this. It might be a little bit of stepping up into facing your fears. But again, once you get on the other side of it, it's going to be fine. Don't worry about the overwhelming aspect of it. That's going to fall away once you get out on the other side. And the other side is pure freedom. You've got this, pile 3. You've got this. So that's what we have for you, beautiful pal 3. Go be you. We're sending you so much love and light for exactly who you are and where you are in the world. Thank you so much for joining us today and being with us. If you have not subscribed, it would be wonderful if you did. It helps out the channel. And of course, you get 2 of these beautiful, deep psychological readings every week. And we have a bunch of beautiful sites down below, the website, Unicorn School of Light. And of course, we have a brand new podcast working with divine codes and the divine feminine to bring those about in successful ways, all ways to support you. All the links are down below. Go be you. Until we meet again, take care. Bye-bye.